libertarianism to me is all about civilization versus decivilization. Like, to me, if you really think about it, the non-aggression principle is the separating force between civilization and the jungle. Like, that's what it is. It's the idea that it's kind of like, well, look, we're not just going to beat each other up. If we have a disagreement, we'll talk it out. We're not just going to see who's bigger and stronger and can beat the other one with a club more. We'll have a discussion. Like, that's the difference between civilization and just fucking being animals. That's it. You know, this is one of the reasons why when Ben Burgess was on the show and we were arguing about taxation being theft, and I said to him at one point at the end where I was like, don't you kind of have to acknowledge that this non-aggression principle thing, there's kind of something to it? Like, there's something to this non-aggression principle. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm more of an absolutist on it than you are. But don't you acknowledge there's something to it? I mean, and I said to him at this point, I go, don't you live your life by the non-aggression principle every single day? Like, every single day. You completely support private property rights and the non-initiation of force, right? Like, you don't assault anybody. You don't take their stuff. Like, well, look, we're here in this podcast. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 microphones right here. You may not have any microphones. You don't just take one of ours as you're leaving, right? Like, you don't do that. You understand these don't belong to me. Like, I shouldn't aggress on other people. And then he responded like something like, he was like, yeah, but I vote for politicians who want to redistribute wealth. And I was like, yeah, but you don't do it. So I get it. You vote for other people to maybe violate the non-aggression, but you, in your life, you live by this principle every single fucking day.
October 3rd, 2019. Thanks for everybody for joining me today. Simple Life Show, simpleliferemedy.org is the website. Today we are talking about our favorite subject. We're talking about antifa. We're talking about the progressive left and Marxism and communism and socialism and everything under the sun that, kind of takes away private property rights, the whole dignity of being a human being and having a choice over your own destiny. And this is the goal of Karl Marx. It's always been the goal of Karl Marx. It's always been the goal of communism in general. It's all about equality. Equality is the God, and that's what we're going to be talking about today on the Simple Life Show. And I really wanted to, I really wanted to think about, kind of really what I want to kind of focus on today. And it was kind of hard. It really was. I wanted to talk about religion, how it kind of intermixed with everything. I think I will get to a lot of that. It's not going to be an all-inclusive talk. It's like everything else. We'll be talking about one thing and we'll kind of shift over and talk about some other stuff. And maybe I'll get to it tomorrow. Maybe it'll be next week. It's an ongoing issue. But what I really want to talk about is, religion. It's not so much religion in general or any kind of one religion like Christianity or Islam or Judaism or anything like that. I really want to talk about, Marxism and how it's fueled the progressive left and how it's borrowed from religion to create the following that you see today. I mean, we've seen the emergence of the state religion and how it's really the antithesis of religion in general. It's the antithesis of liberty in general. It's the antithesis. It's the antithesis of our republic and our Constitution in general. Our Constitution in general, it stands, and it has at its foundation an understanding of religion and Christianity and the freedom that goes underneath that. And that is something that we need to always keep in mind. That is what's really going on each and every day. So we've seen the rallies, we've seen the antifa rallies. We kind of know what's going on with that. We've seen them with their picket signs and their crayon colored stuff and all this other kind of stuff. We've seen the communist signs. And it's when I first actually started seeing this, of course I was used to the antifa, the flags and stuff like that, but when I first started seeing, the emergence of a lot of these communist flags, it started becoming very concerning. That they really didn't have an idea what they were talking about. But we've seen it not only in the antifa or in the progressive left type of, the rallies and the protests and stuff like that, but we've seen it also from members of Congress where they're passing out literature when it comes to antifa and stuff like that. This isn't really a dystopian reality. It's the reality of today. It's Monday morning at 8 o'clock. It's kind of in our face every single day. It's our reality now, and it's only going to get worse. And I always say that because it can get worse. I don't see that. I don't see how it could get any better right now. I mean, it's full steam ahead, and it's going to hit a breaking point. And when it does hit that breaking point, it's going to get really messy, unfortunately, for America, because it is the division that is between everyone that is causing all this. I would really term this less as of a Marxist revolution more than a reimagining of what Marxism really is. And if you want to call it Marxism 2.0, if you will, that's fine. I think that most people would agree that it feels like this communist Marxism type of socialism ideology is taking over in many ways, and it's really subverting our freedom of thought. And we're seeing our speech subverted. We are getting doxxed, and we are getting basically erased on social media. Our freedom of expression is being thwarted in every single way. And we've also seen our religious and national identity being erased every single day. Christianity is probably one of the most targeted religions on the planet. And we don't see it as much in this country because it is so well known. It's pronounced in other countries. And of course, that's not covered by the mainstream media at all. They don't care about that kind of stuff. We are turning into more of a secular society. We are turning into a society that is worshiping of the self and of the state itself. So our freedom of expression, our First Amendment rights are really being attacked. We've obviously got into the Second Amendment and all that kind of stuff. Of course, that is really what the end goal is, to disarm everyone, because once we do become a communist state, then we'll have to disarm everyone because we can't have people running around with guns, right? I don't know if you had a chance to actually look at some of the stuff that was going on in Las Vegas the other day. I was going to make a video about that whole thing. I actually watched an hour of it. I almost killed myself. It was so bad. But I really had in mind to really look into what Joe Biden was really talking about and what Elizabeth Warren was really talking about. And what Elizabeth Warren was really saying is that she just wanted to subvert the entire Constitution. Even the moderator questioned her, like, are you sure this is constitutional? I mean, I really wish I had the clip, because I had to get rid of it all because it was recorded incorrectly. It was from the wrong source, so it just didn't record right. But I mean, it's out there, and people are cheering for this. They are cheering for the subversion and the irrelevancy of our Constitution in the conversation, because it's no longer a conversation. It's a demand, and we're gonna have it shoved down our throat no matter what. Joe Biden, of course, in his typical fashion, sounded like an old senile man. That he was not making any sense. He could not form a coherent sentence. He went from one subject to the next. It was really like talking to someone that had dementia. And I'm not saying that just to be mean. I'm not saying that to be controversial. It's not the first time that someone has said something about Joe Biden. But he did sound like he had dementia. He sounded like he was just going off. I think one of the last things that really kind of stood out in that whole conversation was that he was talking about how most guns, I guess, that people use when they go hunting for geese only have 3 shells. This might be true, but what does that have to do with the conversation in general? Are you saying that geese have more protection than humans do? Well, I'm not exactly sure where his logic was going. I have no idea what he's thinking about half the time, but it was just the most insane thing I've ever heard. It made absolutely no sense. Okay, the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting geese. End of story. That's it. End of story. Has nothing to do with hunting geese. Joe Biden. That's it. So we're going to get off guns here. We were really talking about the First Amendment, and we're really talking about Marx in general and the religion that is being followed by the progressive left right now for Karl Marx, and the reimagining of his religious state and his state-run government and the godhead of the state, which Karl Marx really wanted. So was Karl Marx always an atheist? No, he was not always an atheist. He was actually a practicing Jew. His family was very wealthy, and he actually converted to Christianity for a short time. And then, of course, he went to atheism. we're not going to get into his religious point of view, but we're actually going to really talk about why Karl Marx wanted to copy Christianity so much when it came to forming this type of ideology where the humans were no longer humans anymore. They were simply just laborers, and that's what Karl Marx believed. Karl Marx was, like I said, he came from a well-to-do family, which really, kind of starts his whole thing off with a bit of hypocrisy, because, what Karl Marx was really enamored with was the classifications of humans and how they were laborers, and how we could see the history of all humanity through the eyeglasses of, or through the, I guess through the through the veil of labor. And that was all Karl Marx was concerned with, was labor. And it wasn't so much just the labor as it was the dehumanization of people in general, the classification of people, the group type think mentality that Marx was, especially enamored with, that he wanted everyone to be part of their own little separate groups, because he believed that when you were part of a group and you were born into a group, or if, a type of caste system, that you were stuck there, and you were bound by your own circumstance, and you had no way to get out of that. And that you had to rely on the state to actually help you out so you can become a more productive member of society. Like I said, I'm not an expert on Karl Marx, and I really don't think that the majority, your typical Antifa member out there is it really knows much about Marxism in general, communism in general, or anything like that, or even religion in general, and how it kind of intermixes with the whole idea of Marxism. I think that the typical Antifa member, or the progressive left protester out there, they are simply a religious. They are not anti-religious. They are religious. They want a utopia on earth. They want to speed up the end time revelations that the Christians talk about, where there is a one world government, where there is a savior and a Godhead of the state that controls everything, and that we can, that will solve all of our problems and right all of our wrongs and solve all of the ills of society. It is another type of religion that has been progressed and formulated throughout history. And Karl Marx is just, you could say he's a progenitor of this, but in general, no, it's just religion in general that's been misused once again to forward this idea that the state and government itself is our savior and our salvation against our own demise, that we don't have any control over anything, that we don't have that everything is deterministic, that we have no control over our own actions. And I really want you to think about that just for a second, because that is the heart of everything. Because if we have no control over our own actions, then why are people protesting? Why is Antifa and on all these progressive leftist communities and groups out there, why are they so why are they so mad at their own environment? Because these corporations, these rich people, they don't have a choice. They were just rich. They were born that way. They didn't have to work hard to get where they were. Now, I do believe that there is such thing as called crony capitalism. I think that is a thing. However, this is the most hypocritical and hypocrisy that I've ever seen in my life. It's illogical. When the whole idea of Marxism itself implodes on itself, because it runs under the idea that we don't have a choice. That we don't have a choice in where we are and where we're going. It's all deterministic. It's all materialism. It's all humanism. It's all behind the veil and the guise of really basically satanic type of thinking, where we worship the human. We don't have a choice, and we, it's not even satanic, because even if you look at Satanism, Satanism is not so much a determinism as it is more of a humanism type of philosophy. So I'm not even going to include that in there. This whole Marxist thing is kind of a determinist. It's kind of a nihilist type of way of thinking, and it's very dangerous and it's very hypocritical, like I said, because if that's what you truly believe, if you believe there is no way out of it, then that whole philosophy goes towards everyone else. Then everyone else is not special. Now, even these people that are so-called suppressing you and oppressing you, they don't have any choice either. So it's a self-imploding type of philosophy. It makes no sense. It's completely illogical. Yet you have millions and millions of people who are following this, but they don't really think about what it means to be a Marxist, to be a communist, to have this type of ideal and follow this religion of state-run government and a type of godhead of the state. And like I said, I'm just going to keep reiterating this. The God that's under Marxism is not really even the state. The state, would always be the eventual necessary component. And this is what Karl Marx believed. He had this idea that the state would eventually be an unnecessary component, that it would fade away, that it would be necessary for the short-term period, but then we would reach this utopia where we would no longer need the state. That's why they say that communism is failed Marxism. That's why they're always trying to try it again, because it might work this time. We might be able to get to that utopia. But that is simply a falsehood. It's illogical. It makes no sense. And those that buy into this are only fooling themselves. It's just when we take religion, when we take Christianity, which is something that's supposed to be pure, when it's something about freedom, it's something that it's about anti-materialism. It's something that is focused on the self, not so much as worshiping yourself, but opening up yourself to another realm, opening yourself up to the God that created you and everything else around you, and the one true spiritual life force that's out there that animates everything. Marxism is the antithesis of that. It is a type of religion that says that no, you are not special. There's nothing special about you. The state must help you. The state must solve all of your problems. Those that believe that in the end time justice, like the Christianity, if you turn to Revelations, and you'll hear about this over and over and over again, about justice and how Jesus will come back and he will and God will right all the wrongs, and there will be no more suffering. There will be no crying. This is what Marxism and Karl Marx have borrowed from Christianity, and it's really quite ingenious, because they have used the religion, they have replaced Christianity with this type of religion, because it resembles Christianity so much. Because you replace God. God is replaced with equality. God is replaced with equality for all, and it sounds something that's really good. And the whole Revelations and the end times, where all the justice will come. That is where this type of Marxism 2.0 is coming in, where they want justice for everybody. Everybody is in their separate groups, and they can't control it. That's just who they are, and they need the state to help them. And who can't get behind that? If you're not behind the whole equality thing, then you are the fascist. Then you are the enemy, and you should not be listened to. You are not worthy of speech. You are not worthy of being part of this society anymore. You have to be removed. And if you are, and if you have ulterior points of view when it comes to this, there is simply no room for you anymore in that type of society. The problem is that Marx, when Karl Marx was, formulating a lot of his ideas, he did study under a lot of brilliant minds, but he did not see humans as humans. He did not see humans as having the ability to have freedom of thought, choice. They didn't have choice of action or anything like that. And that is the foundation of all this stuff. Karl Marx saw the humans as labor machines. He saw them as machines, and then he eventually saw the machines taking over. And then there would be a revolution against the machines, and then the state would run. It sounds like a new, James Cameron Terminator film. It really does. If you read any writings by Karl Marx, it really does sound like that. He has this whole utopia planned out, and at the end, he has his own version of Revelations. He has written his own Bible. And the Bible that is being preached right now, that is being followed, this whole religion is growing in numbers every single day. There's new people that are going in every single day. Of course, there's people that are leaving, and those are the people that should be shunned. And of course, people like myself who, that used to be a Democrat, that used to be a liberal and stuff like this, we are probably the worst because we know the entire playbook. We've been programmed before. We know what it feels like to be under this type of guise of and this type of mentality. So that is really what the problem here is. And when you have this type of idea that's intertwined with the idea that people are just labor machines, Karl Marx didn't want to see people unite. It's not about being united. It's not about being able to move beyond your present circumstances. It's all about having the state run your life and being your savior. And that's where this whole thing breaks down. It's because it's all its own religion. And we get the salvation through our Savior, which is the state and the Godhead. And we only achieve that through all equality with each and every person. Sounds so utopian, sounds so wonderful, but the way we get there is disaster. The way we get there is by eliminating half of the population of this country, and that's what they don't want to tell you. The way we get there is by disarming everyone. I don't know if you know about this, but they talked about biometrics a lot in that gun forum in Vegas the other day. And even my wife said, maybe that's not a bad idea. I was like, are you crazy? Are you absolutely crazy? Do you want to have the government, and do you want to have the government have control over your gun? Because it's not just biometrics, it's connected to Wi-Fi. It's connected to the internet. So that also means it's hackable. It means that the government can control your gun. It also means the government can turn your gun off. Just as much as easily as it can turn your card off. It can turn everything off if you do not comply. We all know that Marxism, communism, socialism, even crony capitalism, they're pretty much all the same thing. It's a religion of the masses. They're all their own types of religions. It is the ultimate drug. It's just like what Karl Marx said. That religion is the opium of the masses, but he was a total hypocrite because all he's doing is using another type of religion to drug the masses, and that is what's happening. Everybody is so high on their own supply right now. That's really what's going on. Karl Marx, he reimagined religion, and he saw that religious people were just communists in waiting. They saw them. He saw that they were clamoring towards a more utopian type of world. He decided to give it to them early. And he decided to hand this scam out that the state and the government could give us the utopia that we're looking for. And it's an absolute complete lie. It never had anything to do with God, but it's just the changing of the definitions. And it's a satisfaction of the religious people that's underpinning in their desires for the true justice and equality that we all want. We've seen this over and over. With the groups and the groupings and the group type mentality. We see it with the sex, with the gender, with all this kind of stuff. We are being separated in all these different types of groups, and that is how Marxism works. It is the first play of the Marxist playbook is to separate people into the different classes, because the classification system of humans is all part of the labor machine and how history views humanity as nothing but machines of labor, and that is it. It is all part of the Marxist playbook. I really wish everybody would wake up and see what's actually happening right now, because once it is actually put into full effect, if Trump does lose and they start instituting all these things that they want to do, it's all part of Saul Alinsky's. It's all about the rules for radicals. It's all about Karl Marx. It's about communism. It's about making the state the Godhead. You have to choose which God you want to serve. Until next time, this is Joe with Simple Life Remedy and Simple Life Show. Have a great day. Bye.